Good morning. It is Saturday morning, the 22nd of April, 2023. This is Ron Brown. I'm going to do a market report, but it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to talk about using the force index scans. Now, I posted files for Gill's files. I've added to those because a subscriber wanted a trigger for the code blue and code red scans, but the force indexes are very useful without including bongos, I should say. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in this report. So I'll go ahead and get started. Any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. If you don't have high growth stock investor software, you should. Just go to highgrowthstock.com and you'll see a link to download a free 30-day trial, and you don't have to enter your credit card. Now, I put out a series of videos the other day about installing Gill's files, or the latest edition of the files, and I'll put a link in the email that I send out to Insider Club subscribers, but it's available to anyone who is an HGSI user. You don't have to be a member of the Insider Club. If you use the HGSI software and want access to the videos and the files, just send me an email at ron@highgrowthstock.com and I'll send you the link to the videos. There's 4 videos that tells you how to use the scans and how to download and install the files. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to go into the warehouse, and I'll just go to all securities. I'm in ETFs. I want all securities. And these are the scans that I have put in. These are all scans that I've done over the years for Gill, but I just put these code blue and code red scans in this past week and uploaded the videos and the files, and they actually work very well if you want to use the force index. Now, the force index, as I explained in the other videos, is today's close minus yesterday's close times today's volume. So it gives you either positive or negative force index numbers. And these columns in this view right here are the force index 2 and 13 and the scaled version of the force index, which shows the, if you sort this, the stock with the most force will come to the top of the list with the 2 and the 13-day over here. If you just click on that. Now, if it's red, it's a down force. If it's green, it's an up force. Let's just bring up a chart. And by the way, this is a chart that I put in my files in the Insider Club. It's in there today. I uploaded it. And the reason I did this is rather than, in addition to using the code red and code blue, I like to look at certain indicators. Now, here is the force index up here. When it turns positive, there's this green background, and you can see the scaled force here. If there's a lot of force behind the move, the histogram is going to be, the bars are going to be higher. This is averaged over 13 days. This is averaged over 2 days. Now, here's a 2-day pullback right here, and then you can see that it moved up again on Friday with the 2-day turning positive, and the 13 had remained positive all along. Now, I use these moving averages. Those of you who follow me know that I use the 200, the 100, the 50, the 18, the 3, and the 6. I don't have the 3 and the 6 in here, but this shows the direction of the stock, index, whatever. Pocket pivots, when the 3 is above the 6, this will be a positive histogram here. 6 above the 18 and the 18 above the 50. And then there's the force index. So with this chart, I'm getting a lot more information than just in the code red and code blue charts. Now let me quickly flip to that. I mean, they're very useful because they have the Bongos as you can see. There's the Bongo weekly, Bongo daily, and this will all make sense if you watch the opening videos, the Kahuna, the Force Index 13, and 2. The Bongos are internal relative strength indicators developed by a group of 5 ACS investors 15 years ago probably. It's been a long time, and it helps keep you on the correct side of the market because of the internal relative strength of a security or an index. So this is a standard code red and code blue chart. If you download, if you're an Insider Club member, if you download the charts or update them today, this chart, I only put a black version in so far. It's under my daily analysis black candle charts, and it's chart number 4. In addition to the force indexes, you can see that the VPA flags are all in here too. So I don't use a lot of indicators. The only ones I use are based upon price and volume and moving averages. That's sufficient. I shouldn't say the only ones because I do look at others occasionally, like relative strength, the RSI, and I'll take a look at use Bollinger Bands too, looking for overbought, oversold, and so on. But my primary indicators are the volume price analysis, and I'm going to be incorporating force indexes in more because that was our standard price volume indicator for years before Matt put the VPA flags in the software. Okay, let's. I'm just going to stick with this chart. Well, actually, let's do this. I'm going to bring up. It'll slow it down a little bit because I'm doing a lot of calculating here, but I'm going to add a new chart. And what it does is it duplicates this one. Bring this down here. Notice that I put information in this window, whether the force index is red or green, and the days since the 13 crossed. Here it's 28 days, 0 being the crossover day, and the force 2 day is 0, which is the crossover day. Now I'm going to go in here and I'll just have both of these up here on the left window. Now I want to size this so we can see the force number on here, and then I'll make my dog was reacting to a fox in our backyard. I live in the center of Lincoln, and not the center, but 5 minutes from downtown, and we have all kinds of foxes living in town and in our neighborhood. So if you hear the dog barking, that's what's going on. Now in those videos I did this week, and like I said, if you want the link, just send me an email if you don't have the link. I explained how the code red and code blue filters, or the code blue especially filters work, and the code red are just the opposite. But we can quickly see what is happening with a group of stocks. Now I'm in all securities. I'm going to drop down here to the major market components. I'll just go into the S&P 500, and these are all well-known stocks. And if I'm looking for a trade in the S&P 500s and I want to see a stock that has the force index has turned positive in the last couple of days, I use a 2-day window. 0 would have been yesterday and 1 would be Thursday. I can quickly come in here and scan for them. So here's one. I need to get this out of the way. You can see that the force 2 is turning positive here. It's turned positive over here because these are obviously the same indexes, but we can see the Bongo weekly and Bongo daily turning positive here. But using this chart, I like to use my moving averages. Gil uses his own, but I can see that this stock is well below the 200 and the 100 and just penetrated the 18 and the 50. But how much of a force is this today? You can see that it's not a big move because this histogram bar is not very high, and if you look down at the volume bar, it's not a tall bar. So now let me show you look at the force index here as far as the scaled. That number is low. If I sort this on scaled, go to the top of the list, HCA Holdings is at the top of the list, but if I look over here at the price, 3.9% change, but it only closed at 11% of its range on heavy volume. So this tells me that before I even look at it, I know that traders sold in to this stock. So let's bring it up. You can see this right here. Big move up. Look at this huge force move on this histogram. But it opened here. You can see it opened here on this one and closed here. So yes, it's a big move on the force index, but you have to consider everything. You have to consider not only the price change, but the range. It tells you, without even looking, that there was profit taking here. This must have been an earnings play. Yeah, because the next earnings date is 7/28. So the earnings probably came out Thursday or Friday. I'm not sure, but I would have to go look. Now, just looking down here, and I'm going to remain sorted on this absolute or scaled, and I'm going to go down here and let's look at Snap-on Inc. Now, this is only up 1.6%, but it closed at 92% of its range on above average volume for the 50. And I'm going to bring it up. And you can see that the last 2 days there has been really strong force here based upon the histogram on the 13 and the 2. Pocket pivot. The 3 is above the 6. The 6 is above the 18. And the 18 just went above the 50. And you can see the 200, the 100, the 18, and the 50 right here. 200, 100, 50, and the 18. So a big move here on Snap-on Tools, more than likely an earnings play because the next earnings due is 7/20. Over here you can see that the Bongo Weekly turned blue, as did the Bongo Daily. Pocket pivots down here, and you can see it over here too. Now this stock is obviously extended. Well, is it extended? I don't know. It's extended in the short term, but it's certainly has some momentum behind it right now. I certainly wouldn't buy it at this point, but other people, institutions, they don't think like I think because they're much better capitalized for one reason. But what I'm showing here is the power of the force indexes just by using the sort. Now, on the industry group column is right here, so you can see if the industry went up or not along with the stock. Also, you can see the VPA flags on this one. Strength seen returning after a downtrend. High volume adds to strength. And there was some continuation here. Now, going clear back here, looking at this effort to rise, if I put a cross around it, you can see that the 2-day force crossed, but the 13-day force did not cross until right here. But, you know, there wasn't a huge move at that point, maybe $10. But now the stock obviously is in territory that is much riskier. Now I'm going to stay in the S&P 500. I want to show you that you can sort on the number of days since the bongos have been in effect, or these force index. Now this is a 2-day trigger on the 2-day, but this force 13 has been in effect for 72 days. So let's look at this today, up 1.2, 73% of its daily range. Volume is down, trades 544,000, but look at this chart. Look how tight this thing is. You can see that the ribbon started clear back here. I'm going to zoom out on this one so you can see where the force index 13 kicked in. And it has been positive all of that time. This is a 13-day average of the force index. So if you want to find stocks or indexes that have been in effect for a long time, you can sort on the force index 13 or the days since the bongos. The daily bongo and the weekly bongo went positive. Let's take a look at Take Two Interactive. This time I'm going to look at the bongo weekly. And it went positive clear back here. Zoom out on the force 13 has been in and out here, but there have been several opportunities to take these trades, although I certainly don't like the looks of this chart in and out. When you see force indexes like this, especially on the 2 and the 13, there's a bunch of red bars or blue bars, and then they alternate between the colors. It's just too choppy, in my opinion, to deal with unless you're a long-term holder. If you go with the bongo weekly and can put up with all the noise, yeah, it would have been a good buy, but it's just too sloppy for me. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the market, and I want to show you something you can do with this. I'm going to go into my market analysis user groups, major markets plus. I'll click on this. Notice that nothing shows through because I'm just allowing industry group indexes and stocks to show through. But if I want to use the force indexes with the markets, I just hold my shift key, disengage the filter, and then I'm going to make this large. I'll get rid of the designer. And you can just come in here and look for this industry column. You can tighten it up if you want to get rid of it. But you can look for the force indexes here using my major markets plus folder or any market index folder that you like, and I can see which indexes are positive and how long they've been positive. So high yield bond shares, here's the IBB, biotech, both of these are positive, the force 2 and 13. The 2 crossed positive yesterday, the 13 has been positive for 17 days. So let's look at the biotech. And you can see that the force 13 went positive here, but the force 2 went positive here. Now when you get pullbacks on the 2-day force, but the 13 remains strong, those are potential entry points. It's not like Take Two that I showed you. I believe that was a stock where the 2 and the 13 are chopping all over the place like they were back here. But when you start getting a steady stream of histogram bars that are well above the line, it tells you that there's a lot of buying coming in to this index. Or it's pretty consistent buying. Now you can see with the histogram, I'll make this larger, when it's gaining momentum and then when it's starting to lose some momentum. But as long as it stays green like that, that's a bullish sign. And you can look over here and see the days since the force 13 crossed over 16, it says. I'll get that out of there. 17 days ago. And it's just consistent buying power trending up. So my point is with these indexes, just remove the filter and then you can see which of the indexes are bullish and which ones are bearish based upon the force 2 and 13-day force indexes. Now when there's zeros in here, it means there's no volume associated with that index. So just ignore those with zero. Let's see where the weakness is. I'm going to use the Bongo weekly column sort where it says no. Bongo daily is positive on these indexes, but negative on the weekly. If I go down here and look for the Bongo weekly, which is also the Bongo daily weakness, that shows me the UVXY is negative on both. And you can see that, well, the volatility is just disappearing in this market, which is very surprising. Okay, let's look at gasoline. Same thing, you can see that the Bongo weekly just turned negative. The Bongo daily has been negative, but look at the weakness in gasoline after this move up. So you can use this scorecard without a filter being in place to look for strength and weakness based upon both the force index and the Bongos. This is something you'll probably never do, but I just want to show you that it could be used with the indexes too. Now I'm going to end this video. I would just want to take a quick look at the NASDAQ composite. Let's bring it up, see where it stands. You can see that the Bongo weekly is still blue, turned red on the Bongo daily. The force index is still blue, but it turned negative on the force 2-day. Same thing here, except I'm just using the force indexes. But taking this up and looking at a alternate 2 brings up this magnification. You can see that the index, the composite, is still riding above the 18 period moving average. The close on Friday, it opened at this point, traded down to here, and then closed near the high of its daily range. And this didn't turn positive on the force 2-day, but volume actually increased for the day, but volume point of control is negative. We're just really getting mixed signals. Now, if you look at this area right here, look how long this has been in this trading range, and I mean this could be extended out to include this area too. The market really just, or the comp has really gone nowhere, and it's tough to figure direction. So rather than just concentrating on the indexes, there are plenty of groups that have been moving, and that's where you really look to determine the internal structure of the market. This is a composite view. It really doesn't tell us a tremendous amount of what's happening underneath, but this is where we are with this. Now, I'm going to end this video by going into my reference groups. I'll go into industries. I'm going to click through to these, and then I'm going to go to the code blue scans, and I'm just going to use a force index 2-day positive with the Bongos, yes, and by doing that it's going to show us the industry groups where the force index 2 is positive, and on most of these the 13 is positive, and the Bongo daily and Bongo weekly indexes are positive. So if you bring these groups up in a chart, and you're going to find that most of them are trending up. Once again, here's the 200, the 100, the 50, and the 18. And the force indexes are both positive on here. So these are the stronger groups. And I'm using number 5. I'll just flip through a few of these. And you can see that the force indexes are positive, and the Bongo Weekly and Bongo Daily are positive also. Okay, it's another tool, is what it is. It's a tool that ACSI has had really from nearly the beginning, and it still works. This is originally developed by Alexander Elder. We use it a little bit differently than he does, in fact quite a bit differently, but it works because it shows demand and supply, and when you use it in conjunction with the VPA flags and the moving averages, you can get a real feel for what these indexes are doing and what stocks are doing also. Let's take it one step further, and I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go to casino and gaming. I'll change to the index group. All of these stocks have a positive force index, 2 and 13, and Bongo Daily, yes, and Weekly, yes. And you can see the number of days since the crossovers. So let's just bring some of these up. And you can see that most of these are pretty strong looking charts. That's it for the video. I covered a lot of territory. It's probably a little bit confusing, but just I'll be doing more and more with this index, or incorporating it into what I already use. But I think it'll be very helpful as another way to determine demand and supply.